The restaurant hummed with the soft clatter of silverware against porcelain, the murmur of satisfied diners blending with the gentle notes of a piano in the corner. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over white tablecloths, and the air carried the rich aroma of truffle risotto and aged wine. This was Celestia, the kind of place where reservations were made months in advance, where politicians dined beside tech moguls, where a single meal cost more than most people earned in a week. Marcus Chen stood near the host stand, straightening his black vest for the third time in as many minutes. 6 months as a server here, and he still felt the weight of every glance from the wealthy patrons. He'd learned the rules quickly: smile without being familiar, serve without being seen, anticipate needs before they were spoken. The tips were extraordinary. The humiliation was the price. "Table 12 needs water," snapped Gerald, the floor manager, brushing past with his usual air of superiority. "And for God's sake, Marcus, stand up straight. You're not at some diner." Marcus bit back a response and grabbed a crystal pitcher. Table 12, a group of lawyers celebrating a victory, their laughter loud and self-satisfied. He approached with practiced deference, filling glasses while remaining invisible. That's when the front door opened. The man who entered wore white from head to toe, not the crisp, tailored white of summer linen suits worn by the restaurant's usual clientele, but simple, almost luminous white clothing that seemed to catch the light strangely. His feet were bare, dusty from the street. His hair fell past his shoulders, dark and slightly tangled. His face was weathered, lined with either age or hardship. Marcus couldn't tell which. The host, Jennifer, froze mid-sentence in her conversation with a waiting couple. Her professional smile flickered like a candle in wind. The man in white walked forward slowly, his bare feet silent on the polished marble floor. He didn't look around with the uncertainty of someone lost or confused. His gaze was steady, calm, as if he belonged here more than anyone else in the room. "Sir," Jennifer said, her voice tight. "Sir, I'm afraid—" "A table, please," the man said. His voice was quiet but carried somehow, cutting through the ambient noise. "Just one." Jennifer's face flushed. "Sir, we require, that is, there's a dress code. Shoes are—" "I understand," the man said gently. "But I'd like to eat. I'm very hungry." Marcus watched from across the room, the water pitcher growing heavy in his hands. Several diners had turned to stare. At table 7, a woman in diamonds whispered to her companion, her expression a mix of fascination and disgust. Gerald materialized beside Jennifer like a shark sensing blood. "I'm sorry, but you need to leave. Immediately. This is a private establishment." "I have money," the man said simply. "I don't care." "If you have the crown jewels," Gerald hissed, his voice low but venomous. "Look at yourself, look at this place. You don't belong here." The man's eyes, dark, impossibly deep, met Gerald's. For a moment, something passed between them, something Marcus couldn't name. Gerald actually took a step back. "Please," the man said, "just a simple meal." "Security!" Gerald barked. Marcus felt his feet moving before his brain caught up. The pitcher clinked as he set it down too hard on the nearest table. He crossed the restaurant floor, aware of every eye turning toward him, aware of Gerald's face reddening with fury. "Wait," Marcus heard himself say, "don't do that. Before we continue, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. And if you've ever stood up for someone when everyone else stayed silent, share your story below. I want to hear it." Without knowing that this single act of kindness would expose the darkest corruption in the city's most elite restaurant and reveal a truth that would cost him everything he'd worked for. What happens next will shatter your assumptions about wealth, dignity, and divine justice, and will reveal a miracle that no one saw coming. A story that will challenge everything you believe about who deserves grace and will leave you breathless. "Excuse me?" Marcus's mouth went dry. 6 months of biting his tongue, of swallowing humiliation, of accepting his place in the hierarchy, All of it screamed at him to back down, apologize, return to his station. But the man in white was looking at him now, and those eyes held something Marcus had been missing for a very long time. Hope, maybe, or recognition. "He said he can pay," Marcus said, his voice steadier than he felt. "We're a restaurant. He's hungry. Isn't that the point?" "The point," Gerald said, each word sharp as a knife, "is maintaining the standards that make Celestia what it is. The point is not serving every vagrant who wanders in off the street. Now get back to your tables before I write you up." "I'll seat him," Marcus said, "in my section. If he can't pay, I'll cover it." The restaurant had gone completely silent. Even the piano player had stopped, his hands frozen above the keys. Marcus could feel the weight of judgment from every direction. The diners who'd never looked at him as fully human, the staff who'd learned not to make waves, Gerald whose authority had just been challenged in front of everyone. "You'll cover it," Gerald repeated slowly. "Do you have any idea what a meal here costs? You'd be working for free for a month. Then I'll work for free." What Marcus didn't know was that his decision had just set in motion a chain of events that would expose secrets buried deep in Celestia's gleaming facade, secrets that powerful people had killed to protect. Gerald's jaw worked silently. Then he smiled, and it was the cruelest expression Marcus had ever seen. "Fine, seat him, in your section. And when he can't pay, when he makes a scene, when he drives away our real customers, you're finished. Not just here. I'll make sure you never work in this city again." Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. He turned to the man in white. "This way, please." He led him past tables where diners had gone back to their meals, but kept glancing over, past the bar where the bartender shook his head in disbelief, to a small table near the kitchen doors, the worst spot in the restaurant, where the noise and heat made it undesirable for paying customers. "I'm sorry," Marcus said as the man sat down. "This is all I can offer." "It's perfect," the man said, and his smile was so genuine that Marcus felt something crack in his chest. "Thank you, Marcus." Marcus froze. "I didn't. I'll tell you my name." "Didn't you?" The man's eyes held a hint of something, amusement, sadness. "Perhaps I heard someone say it." Marcus handed him a menu with trembling hands. "I'll give you a moment to decide." "No need." The man closed the menu without looking at it. "Whatever you recommend, whatever you think I need." Marcus nodded and fled to the kitchen, his heart hammering. Behind the swinging doors, he leaned against the cool stainless steel counter, trying to catch his breath. "You've lost your mind," said a voice. Maria, one of the other servers, stood nearby with a tray of appetizers. She was older, had worked at Celestia for 5 years, had perfected the art of invisibility. "You know Gerald will destroy you for this." "I know. So why?" Marcus looked back through the small window in the kitchen door. The man in white sat calmly, his hands folded on the table, seemingly unbothered by the stares and whispers surrounding him. "Because someone should. Because it's right." "Right doesn't pay rent," Maria said, but her voice was softer. "What are you going to serve him?" "I don't know. Something good. Something real. Everything here is real, real expensive." Marcus moved to the prep station where Chef Antoine was plating a dish. Seared duck breast with cherry reduction, roasted vegetables, microgreens arranged like a tiny garden. It was destined for table 18, a regular who sent back dishes if the presentation wasn't perfect. "Chef," Marcus said, "I need a favor." Antoine looked up, his weathered face skeptical. He was French, classically trained, and took his work with deadly seriousness. "A favor? In the middle of service? That man I just seated. I need something for him. Something special. The homeless man, Gerald is already talking about firing you." "I know, but I'm asking anyway." Antoine studied him for a long moment. Then surprisingly he nodded. "You have courage. Stupidity perhaps, but a courage. I will make him something, not from the menu, something true. 20 minutes later, Marcus carried out a plate that made his eyes sting. It wasn't fancy. It was bread, fresh, crusty, still warm, with olive oil and herbs. A simple soup, rich with vegetables and beans. A piece of grilled fish, perfectly cooked with lemon. Water in a crystal glass. Humble food, elevated by skill and care. The man in white looked at the plate, and for a moment, his composure cracked. His eyes glistened. "This is beautiful." "It's just food," Marcus said. "No." The man picked up the bread, tore a piece, dipped it in oil. "This is love made visible." "Thank you." He ate slowly, savoring each bite, and Marcus found himself unable to look away. There was something in the way the man ate, not with the entitlement of the wealthy diners around him, not with the desperation of someone starving, but with genuine gratitude, as if each mouthful was a gift he hadn't expected to receive. At table 5, a woman in a designer dress stood abruptly. "This is unacceptable," she announced to her companions, her voice carrying. "I didn't pay $300 a plate to eat next to that." She gestured toward the man in white as if he were a stain on the furniture. Her husband, a man with silver hair and a Rolex that caught the light, nodded. "Let's go, darling. There are standards after all." They swept toward the exit, and Marcus felt his stomach drop. Losing customers. Gerald would use this as ammunition, but as they passed the man's table, something happened. The woman's designer handbag, left open carelessly, caught on the edge of a chair. It tumbled, spilling its contents across the floor. Lipstick, compact, wallet, keys, and, rolling directly to the man in white's bare feet, a prescription bottle. The woman gasped and lunged for it, but the man had already picked it up. He looked at the label, then at her, and his expression held no judgment, only compassion. "OxyContin," he said quietly, reading the label. "Prescribed to..." He paused. "This isn't your name." The woman's face went white, then red. Her husband stared at her. "Diane, what is he talking about?" "It's nothing," she stammered, snatching for the bottle. "It's just..." "You're in pain," the man said gently. "Not physical. The kind that makes you need to feel nothing at all." "I understand." Diane's eyes filled with tears. Her husband's expression shifted. From confusion to horror to something softer, recognition perhaps, of something he'd been refusing to see. "How did you..." Diane whispered. "Because I see you," the man said. "Not your clothes or your jewelry or your table manners. You, and you're hurting." Little did anyone in that restaurant know, the man in white could see everything they were hiding, every secret, every sin, every wound they'd covered with wealth and status. And he was about to hold up a mirror that would shatter their carefully constructed worlds. Diane stood frozen, the bottle clutched in her hand. Her husband reached for her, tentative, as if touching her for the first time in years. They left without another word, but the woman was crying, and the man's arm was around her shoulders. The restaurant remained silent. Marcus approached the table, his hands shaking as he cleared the empty plate. "Can I get you anything else?" "Just the bill, please." Marcus nodded and walked to the computer terminal, his mind racing. The meal had been simple, but even simple food at Celestia came with a price. He pulled up the check, $87. With tax and suggested gratuity, just over 100. He could cover it. Barely. It would wipe out most of his tips from the week, but he could do it. He printed the check and placed it in a leather folder, then carried it back to the table. "No rush," he said, setting it down. The man in white opened the folder and looked at the bill. Then he reached into his pocket. His simple white clothing somehow had pockets, and pulled out a wallet. Worn leather, old, the kind that had been carried for years. He placed a card on top of the bill. Marcus picked it up, expecting a declined transaction, preparing himself for the humiliation of having to use his own card in front of Gerald and the staff and the remaining diners who were all watching. But what he saw made no sense. It was a credit card, black, with no bank logo. Just a name embossed in silver, Emmanuel, and below it, in smaller letters, Unlimited. "I'll run this for you," Marcus said, his voice strange in his own ears. He walked to the terminal, aware of Gerald watching from across the room, aware of Maria's concerned glance, aware of his own heartbeat thundering in his ears. He swiped the card. The machine beeped, processing, then approved. But that wasn't what made Marcus's hands start to shake. The receipt began printing and printing and printing. It rolled out of the machine like a scroll, line after line of text, and Marcus stared at it in disbelief. The meal charge, $87, but below it, gratuity added 50,000. Marcus's vision blurred. He blinked, certain he was misreading, but the numbers didn't change. $50,000. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely tear off the receipt. He stared at it, at the total, at the signature line that read, "Paid in full." "What's taking so long?" Gerald's voice cut through his shock. The manager strode over, impatience radiating from every step. "Did the card decline? I told you this would..." He stopped when he saw Marcus's face. "What?" Gerald demanded. Marcus handed him the receipt without a word. Gerald's expression cycled through confusion, disbelief, shock, and finally landed on something that might have been fear. "This is a mistake. The machine malfunctioned. This can't be..." "It's real," Marcus said. It went through. Gerald snatched the receipt and the card, his hands trembling now too. He practically ran to the back office, and Marcus heard him on the phone, his voice rising in pitch as he called the credit card company, demanding verification. Marcus walked back to the table on legs that felt like water. The man in white was standing now, preparing to leave. He smiled at Marcus, and it was the saddest, most beautiful expression Marcus had ever seen. "Why?" Marcus whispered. "Why did you do that?" "Because you saw me," the man said simply. "When everyone else looked away, when it would have cost you everything, you saw me. You treated me like I mattered, like I was human, like I was worthy of dignity. But $50,000 is nothing compared to what you gave me. You gave me kindness when you had every reason not to. You risked your livelihood for a stranger. You remembered what it means to love your neighbor." The man placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, and warmth spread through him like sunlight. "That kind of love is priceless. This is just money." "Who are you?" Marcus asked, though part of him already knew, had known from the moment the man walked through the door. "Someone who was hungry, and you fed me," the man said. "Someone who was a stranger, and you welcomed me. Someone who had nothing, and you gave me everything that mattered." Gerald burst out of the office, his face flushed, the phone still pressed to his ear. "It's legitimate. The transaction is legitimate. The account has..." He stopped, staring at the man in white. "Who are you? What is this?" "This is grace," the man said. "Something you've forgotten in your pursuit of perfection and profit and prestige. Something this place has lost." He turned to address the entire restaurant, his voice still quiet but somehow reaching every corner. "You've built a temple to wealth here. Beautiful on the outside, but inside you've forgotten the purpose of food, to nourish, to bring people together, to be shared with love. You judge who deserves to eat by their clothes, their status, their ability to pay. But everyone deserves to eat. Everyone deserves dignity. 12 years. You started as a busboy, didn't you? You remember what it was like to be looked down on, to be treated as less than. But instead of keeping that compassion, you became what hurt you. You became the one who judges, who excludes, who decides who is worthy." Gerald's face had gone pale. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The man turned to the dining room, where every patron sat frozen. "And you, all of you, you come here to be seen, to prove your success, to separate yourselves from the ordinary. But what have you really gained? You have full stomachs and empty hearts. You have expensive meals and cheap compassion. At table 9, a man in a tailored suit stood abruptly, his face red with indignation. "How dare you? Do you know who I am? I'm Jonathan Pierce," the man in white said calmly. "CEO of Pierce Industries. You made $42 million last year while laying off 300 workers the week before Christmas. You told your board it was necessary for growth. You told yourself it was just business, but you haven't slept well since, have you? Because you remember their faces." Jonathan's anger crumbled. He sat down heavily, his wife reaching for his hand with an expression of stunned realization. "And you," the man continued, looking at a woman at table 3. "Catherine Mills, you write about charity and compassion in your column. You've won awards for your humanitarian pieces, but you haven't spoken to your sister in 6 years because she married someone you considered beneath your family's status. She's dying now. Cancer. She's been trying to reach you." Catherine's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling down her carefully made-up face. One by one, the man in white looked at the diners, and one by one they seemed to see themselves clearly for the first time. Not through the mirror of their accomplishments or their bank accounts, but through the lens of their choices, their failures to love, their small cruelties that had seemed so justified at the time. What none of them realized was that this moment of uncomfortable truth was actually a gift, a chance to change before it was too late, before their hearts hardened completely into stone. "But there is hope," the man said, his voice softening. "There is always hope, because grace isn't earned by being perfect. It's given freely to those who recognize they need it, to those who are willing to see their own poverty of spirit and choose differently." He turned back to Marcus. "You have a gift, not just for serving food, but for seeing people, for recognizing that every person who walks through a door is carrying a story, a struggle, a soul that matters. Don't lose that. Don't let this world convince you that some people matter more than others." "I won't," Marcus said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. The man in white walked toward the door, his bare feet silent on the marble. The diners parted like water, none of them able to meet his eyes now, but at the door he paused. He turned back one more time, and his gaze swept the room. "I'll return," he said, "someday, when you least expect it. And I won't be dressed in white. I might be dressed in rags, I might be dirty or sick or desperate, and how you treat that person, whoever they are, whatever they look like, that's how you'll have treated me. Remember that." Then he was gone, the door closing softly behind him. For a long moment no one moved, no one spoke. The restaurant existed in a bubble of stunned silence. Then Gerald dropped into the nearest chair, his face in his hands, his shoulders shook. "What have I done?" he whispered. "What have I become?" Maria approached Marcus, her eyes wide. "Did that really just happen?" "I think so," Marcus said, though he felt like he was in a dream. The receipt was still in his hand. $50,000. Real. Verified. Impossible, and yet undeniable. Chef Antoine emerged from the kitchen, his expression unreadable. He walked to Marcus and placed a hand on his shoulder. "I have worked in restaurants for 35 years, he said quietly. "I have served presidents and movie stars and billionaires, but I have never seen anything like that. You did the right thing, the brave thing, the human thing." "I just gave him a table," Marcus said. "No, you gave him dignity. In a place that had forgotten what that means, you remembered. That is everything." Over the next hour, something extraordinary happened. Jonathan Pierce approached Marcus, his eyes red-rimmed. "The man was right. About everything. I need to make some calls, fix some things." He pulled out his wallet and handed Marcus a business card. "If you ever need anything, a job, a reference, help of any kind, you call me. What you did tonight, it reminded me of who I used to be, who I should be. Catherine Mills left in tears. Her phone pressed to her ear saying, "Please pick up Sarah, please," over and over. One by one, diners approached Marcus. Some apologized, some thanked him. Some just looked at him with new eyes, as if seeing him as a person for the first time rather than a servant. Diane, the woman with the prescription bottle, returned to the restaurant an hour later with her husband. She found Marcus clearing tables. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for bringing him here, for standing up when no one else would. He saw me, really saw me, and because of that I'm going to get help, real help. My husband and I are going to face this together." Her husband nodded, his arm around her waist. "We've been living in the same house like strangers for 3 years. Tonight we actually talked, really talked, for the first time in, I can't remember how long." After they left, Marcus found Gerald still sitting at the table, staring at nothing. "I'm sorry," Gerald said without looking up. "I'm sorry for how I've treated you, how I've treated everyone. I thought maintaining standards meant keeping certain people out, but really, I was just keeping love out, keeping humanity out, keeping God out." He finally looked at Marcus, and his eyes were haunted. He was right. I did start as a busboy. I remember what it felt like to be invisible, to be treated like I didn't matter. And instead of changing that, I just climbed the ladder and became the person who made others feel that way. I became what I hated. "It's not too late," Marcus said, "to change, to choose differently." "Isn't it?" He said, "There's always hope." I believe him. Gerald nodded slowly. "The $50,000. It's yours. You earned it. But Marcus, I think you should use it to do something that matters, something that would honor what happened here tonight." Marcus looked at the receipt again, at the impossible number. "I know exactly what to do with it." Months later, Marcus stood outside a building that had once been a warehouse. The sign above the door read, "Emmanuel's Table, where everyone belongs." The renovation had taken every dollar of the $50,000, plus donations that had poured in once word spread about what had happened at Celestia. The story had gone viral, not because Marcus had shared it, but because dozens of diners had, each telling their version of the night. A stranger in white had walked into an exclusive restaurant and changed everything. Inside, the space was simple but beautiful, long wooden tables instead of individual ones, encouraging strangers to sit together. An open kitchen where volunteers prepared meals. No prices on the menu, no dress code, no judgment, just food and welcome and dignity for everyone who walked through the door. "Pay what you can, or pay nothing at all," read the sign by the entrance. "Everyone eats, everyone matters." Maria had left Celestia to work with Marcus full-time. Chef Antoine came 3 days a week, teaching cooking classes and preparing meals. Even Gerald had started volunteering on weekends, serving food with a humility that seemed to be healing something broken inside him. They served business people and homeless individuals at the same tables. Families struggling to make ends meet sat beside lawyers and doctors who paid extra to subsidize meals for others. Addicts in recovery shared bread with pastors. Everyone was welcome. Everyone belonged. On opening night, Marcus stood at the door, greeting each person who entered. An elderly woman with a walker, a young family with 3 children, a man in a business suit who looked exhausted, a teenager with a backpack who looked like he'd been sleeping rough. "Welcome," Marcus said to each one. "We're glad you're here." As the dinner service began, as the tables filled with conversation and laughter and the simple joy of shared food, Marcus felt a presence beside him. He turned, half expecting to see the man in white, but it was just a young woman, thin, with hollow eyes and clothes that had seen better days. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. "That anyone can eat here?" "It's true," Marcus said. "Even me? Especially you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I haven't eaten in 2 days. I was too ashamed to beg, too proud to ask. But I saw the sign and I thought, maybe. "Come in," Marcus said gently. "Let us feed you. Let us see you." As he led her to a table, as he brought her a plate of warm food prepared with love, as he watched her cry over a simple meal, Marcus understood something profound. The man in white hadn't just given him $50,000. He'd given him a purpose, a calling, a way to take the gift of being seen and multiply it, to create a place where everyone could experience that same dignity, that same recognition of their inherent worth. And in every person who walked through the door, whether they were wealthy or poor, clean or dirty, successful or struggling, Marcus looked for the man in white, because he'd meant what he said. He would return, maybe not in the same form, maybe not in a way anyone would recognize, but he would return, and Marcus would be ready. Management. He created a fund for displaced workers, offering retraining and support instead of just severance. He cut his own salary by half and redistributed it to employee benefits. His board thought he'd lost his mind. His employees thought he'd found his soul. He became a regular at Emmanuel's table, not just as a donor, but as a volunteer, serving food alongside people he once would have crossed the street to avoid. Catherine Mills reconnected with her dying sister. She spent the last 6 weeks of Sarah's life at her bedside, holding her hand, asking forgiveness, rebuilding a bridge she'd burned out of pride and prejudice. She wrote about it in her column, not the sanitized, inspirational version, but the raw, painful truth of what it cost to let judgment rule her heart. The column went viral. She received thousands of messages from people who'd made similar choices, who'd let status or pride or fear separate them from people they loved. Many of them reconciled. Because of her honesty, she kept every letter in a box labeled Grace. Diane entered rehab the week after the incident. Her husband visited every day. Their marriage, which had been dying slowly for years, found new life in the honesty that the man in white had forced into the open. She later became a counselor specializing in addiction, and she always told her clients about the night a stranger saw through her expensive clothes and perfect makeup to the pain underneath. "Someone saw me when I was invisible," she'd say. "Now I see you." But the most profound change happened at Celestia itself. The restaurant struggled at first. Word spread about what had happened, and reactions were mixed. Some of the elite clientele stopped coming, uncomfortable with the reminder of their own hypocrisy. Revenue dropped. The owners considered closing. But Gerald, transformed by his encounter with truth, made a proposal. "What if we changed?" he said at a board meeting. "Not everything. We can still be excellent, but what if excellence meant something different? What if it meant treating every person who walks through our door with dignity? What if we reserved tables every night for people who couldn't normally afford to eat here? Veterans, teachers, social workers, people who serve others but never get served themselves." The board was skeptical, but Gerald was persistent, and slowly, reluctantly, they agreed to a trial program. One night a week, Celestia opened its doors to a different kind of clientele. People who'd never dreamed of eating at such a place, people who'd been invisible to the wealthy diners who usually filled these seats. Something unexpected happened. The regular customers started requesting those nights. They wanted to eat alongside the teachers and nurses and social workers. They wanted their children to see that wealth wasn't what made someone valuable. They wanted to remember what the man in white had taught them, that everyone deserves dignity, and sharing a meal is one of the most human things we can do. Within a year, Celestia had transformed. It was still excellent, still beautiful, still expensive for those who could afford it. But it was no longer exclusive in the way that mattered most. It had remembered its purpose. And on the wall near the entrance, they hung a simple plaque. "I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me." Below it in smaller letters, in memory of the man in white who reminded us what truly matters. Now he was clean, sober, employed, and giving back to the place that had given him a chance. "Why do you do this?" David asked as they prepared plates. "You could have used that money for yourself. You could have opened a regular restaurant and made a fortune." Marcus smiled. "I did make a fortune, just not the kind you can deposit in a bank." "I don't understand." "You will. Every time someone walks through that door and realizes they matter, that they're seen, that they're valued, that's the fortune. That's the return on investment that never stops paying." The dinner rush continued. A businessman sat next to a recovering addict. A doctor shared bread with a janitor. A family celebrating a birthday made room at their table for an elderly man eating alone. Conversations flowed, laughter rang out. The barriers that usually separated people, class, race, status, wealth, dissolved in the simple act of sharing food. As Marcus watched, he felt that familiar presence, that sense of being seen by eyes that looked deeper than surface appearances. He turned, scanning the crowded restaurant. And there, at a corner table, sat an old man in worn clothes. His face was weathered, his hands gnarled with age and work. He was eating slowly, savoring each bite, and his eyes, dark, impossibly deep, met Marcus's across the room. The old man smiled. Marcus's breath caught. He started moving toward the table, weaving through the crowd, his heart pounding. But when he reached the corner, the chair was empty. The plate was clean, and on the table, folded neatly, was a $50 bill with a note written in elegant script. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You took what you were given and multiplied it. You remembered. Keep going. I'll see you again." Marcus picked up the note with trembling hands. He looked around, but the old man was nowhere to be seen. He'd vanished as mysteriously as the man in white had appeared 5 years ago. But Marcus understood. This was the promise fulfilled, the return visit in a different form, just as predicted. A reminder that the work mattered, that the choice to see people, really see them, was never wasted. He folded the note carefully and placed it in his pocket, next to his heart. Then he returned to work, greeting each person who entered with the same words he'd spoken thousands of times, words that never lost their meaning. "Welcome. We're glad you're here." The incident at Celestia, Marcus received an invitation to speak at a conference on social entrepreneurship. He almost declined. Public speaking terrified him, but Maria convinced him to go. "Your story needs to be told," she said. "Not for your glory, but because people need to know that one act of courage can change everything." So he went. He stood on a stage in front of 500 people and told the story of the man in white. He described the fear he'd felt challenging Gerald, the shock of the $50,000 tip, the decision to create Emmanuel's table, the ripple effects that continued to spread. "I didn't do anything special," he said. "I just treated someone like a human being. I just remembered that everyone deserves dignity. That's it, that's the whole story." But as he spoke, he saw faces in the audience changing. He saw recognition, conviction, inspiration. He saw people remembering their own encounters with strangers, their own moments of choice between comfort and courage. After the talk, dozens of people approached him. Many were crying. A woman told him she'd been planning to walk past a homeless person every day on her way to work. And after hearing his story, she'd stopped that morning and bought the person breakfast. They'd talked for an hour, and she'd learned his name was Robert, that he'd been a teacher before his life fell apart, and that no one had looked him in the eye in months. A young entrepreneur said he was going to restructure his entire business model to include a dignity clause, ensuring every employee, from janitor to executive, was treated with equal respect and given opportunities for growth. A pastor admitted he'd been running his church like Celestia, welcoming the wealthy, making the poor feel uncomfortable. "I'm going to change that," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Starting this Sunday." But the encounter that shook Marcus most came from an elderly man Who? Waited until everyone else had left. "I need to tell you something," the man said. His hands trembled as he gripped his cane. 20 years ago, I was the head chef at a restaurant in Chicago. A homeless man came in one winter night begging for food. I had him thrown out into the cold. He died that night, froze to death in an alley 3 blocks away. The man's face crumpled. I've carried that for 20 years. The guilt, the shame, the knowledge that I valued my restaurants. Reputation more than a human life. I thought I was beyond forgiveness. But your story, the way that man in white showed grace even to people like Gerald, like those wealthy diners who'd been so cruel, it made me think that maybe, just maybe, there's hope even for someone like me. Marcus took the man's shaking hands in his own. There is. There's always hope. That's the whole point. None of us are beyond grace. We've all failed. We've all chosen wrong. But we can choose differently going forward. How? The old man whispered. How do I make up for what I did? You can't change the past. But you can honor that man's memory by making sure it never happens again. By seeing every person who crosses your path as someone who matters. By choosing compassion over comfort every single time. The old man nodded, tears streaming down his weathered face. I'll try. God help me, I'll try. As Marcus watched him walk away, he understood something profound. The man in white hadn't just changed the people in Celestia that night. He'd set in motion a wave of transformation that was still spreading, still touching lives, still challenging people to see each other differently. One act of courage. One moment of choosing right over easy. One decision to see a person instead of a problem. That's all it took to change the world. Grand establishments where Celestia's wealthy clientele usually held their services. Marcus arrived early and was surprised to find the church already packed. He recognized many faces. Former Celestia employees, people who'd eaten at Emmanuel's table, volunteers, donors, but there were others he didn't know, dozens of them, hundreds perhaps, filling every pew and standing along the walls. At the front of the church, a simple casket. No elaborate flower arrangements, no ostentatious display, just dignity and simplicity. The pastor, a young woman with kind eyes, began the service. Gerald Thompson was a complicated man, she said. He made mistakes, he hurt people. He allowed pride and fear to harden his heart. But 15 years ago, he encountered grace in an unexpected form, and he spent the rest of his life trying to live differently. She told stories Marcus had never heard. How Gerald had quietly paid for the funerals of former employees who died without family. How he'd created a scholarship fund for the children of restaurant workers. How he'd spent his weekends at homeless shelters, not managing or organizing, but serving, washing dishes, cleaning bathrooms, doing the work he'd once considered beneath him. He never talked about it, the pastor said. He didn't want recognition. He just wanted to make amends, to honor the lesson he'd learned that night from a stranger in white. After the service, people shared their own stories. A woman Gerald had helped escape an abusive relationship. A young man whose college education Gerald had funded. A family whose medical bills Gerald had paid anonymously. He saved my life, one person said. He gave me a second chance, said another. He saw me when I was invisible, said a third. Marcus realized that Gerald had taken the same lesson he'd learned and applied it in his own way. He'd taken his guilt and shame and transformed it into action. He'd spent 15 years trying to become the person he should have been all along. At the reception afterward, Marcus met Gerald's sister, a woman he'd never known existed. He talked about you often, she said. About that night, about the man in white, about how you stood up when everyone else stayed silent. He said it was the most important moment of his life, the moment he saw himself clearly and realized he had to change. I didn't know he'd done so much, Marcus said. He didn't want people to know. He said it wasn't about recognition, it was about repentance, real repentance. the kind that changes how you live, not just what you say. She handed Marcus an envelope. He left this for you. Asked me to give it to you when he died. Marcus opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a letter in Gerald's precise handwriting. Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I've been ready for a while now. I need you to know that you saved my life that night. Not physically, but in every way that matters. I was dying inside. My soul was rotting from years of cruelty disguised as standards, years of valuing appearance over essence, years of forgetting what it means to be human. The man in white held up a mirror, and I saw what I'd become. It was the most painful and most necessary thing that ever happened to me. I spent the last 15 years trying to make amends. I know I can't undo the harm I caused. I can't bring back the people I turned away, the dreams I crushed, the dignity I stole. But I tried to honor the lesson by living differently. I'm leaving you something, not money. You've never needed money to do what matters. I'm leaving you Celestia. The owners agreed to sell it to me 5 years ago, and I've been running it according to the principles we learned that night. But I'm old, and I'm tired, and it needs someone who truly understands its purpose. I'm not asking you to run it. I know Emmanuel's table is your calling, but I'm asking you to make sure it continues to be a place where everyone is welcome, where dignity matters more than dollars, where grace is served alongside every meal. Do with it what you think is right. Transform it, sell it, burn it down if you must. Just don't let it go back to what it was. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for reminding me that it's never too late to change. Thank you for showing me what grace looks like in action. I'll see you on the other side. And I hope when I get there, the man in white will say I did enough to make up for who I was. With gratitude and respect, Gerald Marcus folded the letter carefully, his vision blurred with tears. Gerald had left him Celestia, the place where it all began, the place that had been transformed by one encounter with truth. He knew exactly what to do with it. At premium prices to those who could afford it, but every dollar of profit went directly to funding the other half, a space where anyone could eat, regardless of their ability to pay. The dining rooms were connected by a large archway, and there were no physical barriers between them. Wealthy diners and struggling families ate in the same space, served by the same staff, treated with the same dignity. On the wall where the plaque about the man in white had hung at the old Celestia, Marcus installed something new, a large mirror beautifully framed with words etched into the glass. Before you judge another, look here first. Below it, a smaller plaque, in memory of Gerald Thompson, who looked in the mirror and chose to change. The concept was radical. Many predicted it would fail, but it didn't. The second table became one of the most sought-after reservations in the city, not despite its inclusive model, but because of it. People wanted to be part of something that mattered. They wanted their meals to mean something beyond satisfying hunger. They wanted to participate in grace. Celebrities came and sat next to construction workers. Politicians broke bread with the people they claimed to serve. Families celebrating milestones made room at their tables for strangers celebrating survival. And every night, Marcus walked through both dining rooms, greeting each person the same way, with the same words, the same genuine welcome. We're glad you're here. 20 years after the man in white walked into Celestia, Marcus received an unexpected visitor at Emmanuel's table. It was a young woman, probably in her mid-20s, with her father's eyes and her mother's smile. She introduced herself as Jennifer, the daughter of Jonathan Pierce, the CEO who'd been confronted about his layoffs. My father died last month, she said. Cancer. But before he died, he told me a story about a night that changed his life. About a man in white and a waiter who showed courage. About seeing himself clearly for the first time. I'm sorry for your loss, Marcus said. Don't be. He lived well after that night, really lived, not just existed. He changed everything about how he did business. He reconnected with our family. We'd been strangers living in the same house, but after that night, he became a real father. He taught me that success isn't about accumulation, it's about contribution. She handed Marcus a check. This is from his estate. He wanted it to go to Emmanuel's table, to help you expand, to help you reach more people, to help you continue the work that started with one act of courage. Marcus looked at the check and felt his knees weaken. $10 million. I can't accept this, he said. You have to. It was his dying wish. He said the man in white gave him a second chance, and you showed him what to do with it. This is him passing it forward. This is him saying thank you for saving his soul. Marcus took the check with shaking hands. I'll use it well. I promise. I know you will. But there's something else. Jennifer pulled out a folder. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I want to tell this story, the whole story, from that night 20 years ago to now. The ripple effects, the lives changed, the proof that one moment of courage can transform the world. I don't know, please, people need to hear this. We're living in a time when everyone feels powerless, when compassion feels naive, when people have stopped believing that individual actions matter. This story proves they're wrong. This story shows that one person choosing right over easy can change everything. Marcus thought about it. About the man in white, who'd appeared and disappeared mysteriously. About Gerald, who'd spent 15 years making amends. About Jonathan Pierce, who'd restructured his entire life around a single encounter with truth. About the thousands of people who'd been fed, seen, valued, transformed. Okay, he said, but on one condition. The focus isn't on me. It's on the principle. It's on the truth that everyone deserves dignity, that grace is real, that it's never too late to change, and that courage is contagious. Deal. Celestia. It included interviews with everyone involved. Maria, Chef Antoine, the diners who'd been confronted with their own hypocrisy, Gerald's sister, Jonathan Pierce's family, Diane and her husband, Catherine Mills. It showed the transformation of Celestia into the second table, the expansion of Emmanuel's table to 15 cities, the hundreds of similar restaurants that had been inspired by the model. The thousands of lives changed, but the most powerful moment came near the end. Jennifer had tracked down dozens of people who'd been served at Emmanuel's table over the years. Homeless individuals who'd found dignity and hope, addicts who'd gotten clean, families who'd been fed during their darkest times, people who'd been invisible to the world until someone saw them. One by one they told their stories, and one by one they said the same thing. Someone saw me. Someone treated me like I mattered. Someone gave me grace when I didn't deserve it. Someone showed me that I was worth more than my worst moment. The documentary ended with Marcus standing in Emmanuel's table, watching the dinner rush. The camera pulled back slowly, showing the full restaurant, the diversity of people, the joy on faces, the simple beauty of strangers sharing food, and Marcus's voice in voiceover. People ask me if I ever saw the man in white again. The truth is, I see him every day, in every person who walks through these doors, in every act of kindness, in every moment when someone chooses compassion over comfort. He's not gone, he's everywhere. We just have to have eyes to see. The screen faded to black and text appeared. I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Matthew 25:35. This is a story from Hidden Grace Stories. Restructured their outreach. Businesses implemented dignity clauses. Schools taught the story as an example of moral courage. But more importantly, individuals changed. People started seeing the homeless person on their commute, They stopped to talk to the janitor in their building. They invited the lonely co-worker to lunch. They chose compassion over comfort, connection over convenience, courage over conformity. One act at a time, one person at a time, one moment of choosing to see. Instead of looking away, the ripple effects continued to spread. Was winding down, a young man entered. He wore simple clothes, nothing remarkable, but there was something about his eyes, dark, impossibly deep, that made Marcus's breath catch. The young man smiled. "Hello, Marcus. Do I know you? You've always known me. You've been seeing me for 50 years now, in every face, every stranger, every person you've welcomed and fed and valued." Marcus's heart began to race. "It's you. It's always been me. Every time you fed someone hungry, every time you welcomed a stranger, every time you saw someone invisible to the world, you were seeing me. You were serving me. You were loving me. I don't understand." "Yes, you do. You've understood from the beginning. That's why you did what you did. That's why you've lived how you've lived. You understood that how we treat each other is how we treat the divine. That every person carries infinite worth. That grace isn't just a concept, it's a practice, a choice, a way of life." The young man placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, and warmth flooded through him. The same warmth he'd felt 50 years ago when the man in white had touched him. "Well done, good and faithful servant," the young man said. "You took what you were given and multiplied it beyond measure. You changed the world, one act of courage at a time. You remembered what matters. You never stopped seeing." "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now you rest. Your work here is complete. But the ripples you created will continue forever. Every person you fed will feed others. Every person you saw will see others. Every act of grace you showed will multiply into infinity. That's how the kingdom works. That's how love changes the world." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. "I was just a waiter. I just gave someone a table. You gave me everything that mattered. You gave me dignity when the world said I had none. You gave me a seat at the table when everyone else wanted me gone. You risked everything for a stranger. That's not just anything. That's everything." The young man smiled, and it was the most beautiful expression Marcus had ever seen. "Come, your table is ready, and everyone you've ever fed, everyone you've ever seen, everyone you've ever loved, they're all waiting to welcome you home." Marcus looked around the restaurant one last time. He saw Maria laughing with a customer. He saw David, the former homeless man, now training another volunteer. He saw tables full of people from every walk of life, sharing food and stories and humanity. He saw the world as it should be, as it could be, as it would be, one act of courage at a time. "I'm ready," Marcus said.